Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting, and Happy New Year, everyone. And like one of my boys always teased me when I say 30 years now, the fact that I purchased it in April of '91. So 4 out of 3 people are good at math. So actually, it's going to be 30 years here quite soon. So, but yeah, it's funny with most some memories when I start thinking about when I was invited to come and just share some of the history. 30 years, how fast that's gone. And I remember when Mike and I were first visiting about this. I remember starting out the business, and some people say, well, if you can make them first 5 years, you kind of. And but I'll tell you what, 5 years or 30 years or 25 or up to this date, there's always been challenges and times where you just always feel like you're on the wire, but keeps the juices flowing, if you know what I'm saying. But it was kind of nice to, when John Larson, Larson Music back in the day, I remember came out in the paper that he was going to be retiring, and Marsh and I, well, I worked in a music store in Fairbanks, Alaska, so I had somewhat of a taste of music retail, and had enjoyed that. So we thought, and I'd just gotten off the road with a band. We'd been on the road for a long time. We used to tour a lot and be gone a lot, and decided to maybe start staying home. And oh, what happened here? Okay, there I am. Stay home with the family, not travel so much. And when this opportunity came along, and met with John, and it was nice to have bought and my son. Because by buying that, because we could have just probably started up a store. He was going out of business, but we decided, no, we visited with him and kind of moved in that way. Because then we started looking at the music store has actually been around in Thief River Falls since 1922. And it was changed to Larson Music. I don't know at what time, but it was an interesting journey. But going back on all that time with John's father, Justice, and that buying that. So just going with all that history, and we're slowly compiling more and more of that. But that said, it's kind of nice to have that history behind us. And we started out on Labrie Avenue, down where Bergen Travel presently is now. That's when John had been there and in that store for a long time. The music business has always transpired. When they started out, it was kind of a little accordion shop, and then radios came along, and so it was a kind of a mix. I know at some time they got into a lot of white goods, and so it's evolved a lot. And the years that I had it, when I first purchased it, it was primarily an audio video store. Actually, they had some instruments and some pianos, and we did a few things. And my goal was always to expand it and just become a full line music store, which we are today, where by that meaning, we have pretty much anything. You want to come and get a PA system, we can have that. We can sell you band and orchestra instruments, drum sets, print music, keyboards, pianos, just anything. So that's what we've become after all these years. We purchased the building that we're presently at here on 315 Duluth Avenue North. It was a church, one of the older churches back in the day in this town site here. And we bought it in 1999 and renovated it, and then opened March 1st of 2000. So we've been here, going to be 21 years now coming up in March. So in this location, so how fast that goes. And even moving, that it's about the time we faded out of the video, the televisions and the home stereo systems and that. And we still have a few of those little things if somebody needs it. But since then, we've been here, and kind of by that time we were full line store of music, and that's what we've done. And then always done music, not only the retail aspect of as far as the goods, but I've always worked hard on our services. Started out on that, which we do a lot of the repairs. I'm more of a self-taught, did a lot of, especially now with online, but a lot of book reading and a lot of trial and error, to where I could hone that and learned how to repair band and orchestra instruments. And these last couple of years now, my son Billy had gone off to Luthier School down in Red Wing, Minnesota. did a 2-year stint there, learning building guitars, violins, mandolins, all that sort. And so that's what a luthier is a person that builds musical instruments. And I dabble, I'm learning. In fact, I've got a big upright piano over here now, all in pieces, working on that. And it's been fun learning how to repair them and making those all work. But having Billy back now these last years, we've moved our shop, expanded our repair shop, and business for that is slowly ticking up. People got the word out that we've got a, they're just bringing things in, and he's back at the bench working on something right now. So we're finding ourselves being actually more service oriented all the time, doing a lot more of the repairs, a lot of things coming in every day. So it's funny how things have shifted over the years, coming from in the early 1990s, in the mid 90s, where we were pretty much an audio video store. 40% of our business was probably selling recorded music. Vinyl had already phased out, so the CD was the big thing, and that's all gone. Print music has become a challenge as with so many things coming online. So we're finding service being more of a thing like that. And of course, Billy's come up and has taken our website presence, especially going through COVID, when we were shut down earlier in 2020. When we were closed, we just sat down on our benches and we started just repairing like crazy. And he's worked well at posting things online, and we've been shipping guitars and instruments now more so than I had been doing prior. Probably with a lot of people being more homebound than that, they were saying, I can't go anywhere. I'm working from home. I want to pick up the guitar again and get back on it. So we've been seeing some uptick in guitars because of it. So, and keyboards, people staying home just wanting to play, have more time. So that's cool. So that's how that's worked on that. Moving forward here now, in fact, my phone ringing here, that's my son out in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He's a barber, and he's been working out there, and now we're getting the ball rolling just actually since yesterday, talking with the city planner and things. Shut down our cup of joe. So we still have coffee here, but it's free. We started giving the coffee shop. We just started years back. People coming in and browsing around. How would you like a cup of coffee? And well, what's it cost? It don't cost anything. So if you ever want to come in, you have a free cup of joe, but browse around or just to chat. But we've shut the coffee shop down in that little nook corner, which Billy and I, since he's been back a couple of years, we've expanded our repair room, and we'll make a repair room out of it. And it's worked out really, really well. Well, now Andrew, he's wanting to move back here because he said, Dad, that area there would really make a nice barber shop. So that's what we're moving forward to doing there. So we're just getting some contractors are just over yesterday with their tape measures. So that's probably going to be happening now in the next few months. So I'd say by June or so, there'll be some haircutting going on around here. And he's a full-line barber graduate. It's barber school. If you want your beard trimmed, or you want a razor shave or a hot razor shave or haircuts, that's what's going to be going on there. So we're going to, as I fade away, these boys, Billy and Andrew, will be taking over the shop here, and we'll have a music store and a barber shop. So that's kind of what we've got moving forward. But it's been fun over these years, having been involved with the Chamber of Commerce quite a bit. I was chairman in 1999, and again, and I want to say 2016, something like that. So I've been involved in and out and seen a lot of things. What I'm excited to see now in these latter years now is in the downtown area, having those first 10 years in business being on LaBrie Avenue. And to be honest, starting in 1991, anybody that can remember it, there was a lot of small shops starting to close back then. Big box stores were starting to move in. And that's probably why John Larson decided was to go into something else, because he saw the Circuit Cities and the Best Buys and all these big box stores coming in. And it was a tough transition. We're starting to see some things kind of roll around the other way again, where small shops and services are becoming important, or people are realizing. And what I've noticed with this COVID is people are stopping in And like I think most of us are doing with restaurants being closed right now is to support them. Well, let's do a takeout and just do what we can. So everybody kind of hangs together and does things like that. So it's pretty cool. That's pretty much in a nutshell what I can think of. I'm really just a winger. You can tell I've been bouncing around in my conversations. I don't have any notes down so that I can stay on track. I've always winged it, and I'm winging it right now, folks. When I went into business, I remember sitting down with the small business at the college out there, and I had my spreadsheets and what I thought would work from my short experience in a music store in Fairbanks, Alaska in the 70s. And they said, boy, it's not going to work, Joe. And I went home and I said, hey, Marshall, we're going to buy a music store. So that's how much I listen to anything sometimes. If you have a passion, I have a shadow student, a senior at Lincoln High School, job shadowing here now, interested in music. And of course, it doesn't have to be retail music. As me being a musician and a performer and having made a living doing that, toughens you up maybe for some things about trying to keep a band on a road. Tell you, but it's just been a fun thing. So that's about all I have. So I think we're going to open it up to some questions, if I'm not mistaken. If anyone has anything for me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joe. That was fantastic. So yeah, questions for Joe, or even comments.
Joe, do you see that technology changing is a big part of your business? I know with the music instruments, I'm sure a lot of that is kind of, you're not really changing the technology but with the speakers and stuff, are you having to stay on top of technology pretty consistently?
Yeah. Right now, in fact, that's what I was working at earlier this morning. We've got a system now, and I've been using it for a few years now with a lot of the mixing consoles and things that we do when we do production in the summer, like with Riverfest, a lot of county fairs. With digital consoles now, we've learned I can walk around with an iPhone or an app, and I can run my mixing console off I can basically do anything I have from my studio upstairs here, where I've still got a full console or touring console, with all this outboard rack here that I still use. I still like to go analog digital, but with digital, I can do anything on a laptop or on a computer, and then some. It's just amazing. So yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes, and you're constantly trying to learn. It's something. In this with technology too. The scary thing, like I talked about, we used to have a lot of our business was selling audio product, CDs. Well, now it was the day, if we remember when Napster came out, it was like hitting a light switch in my store, because we'd have a noon rush every day, and I had one full-time employee, and that all they did was buy and purchase special orders and stock recorded music. And it was once Napster came, because we used to have a flood of high school students, and that would come over on their lunch and look through the new releases on music and that. And all of a sudden, you got music free. It just stopped. That was my first shock of just, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? And that was the start of the change. And that would have been around 1998, I want to say, somewhere around there. That was an eye opener. So hang on, here we go. It's been fun.
Yeah, when I hear you talk about that, the one word that comes to mind is flexibility. And when you've been in business for 3 decades, you've seen a lot of changes over time. How important is flexibility? And is that something that you think people can learn? Entrepreneurs, can we learn to be flexible, or what are your thoughts on that, and how important is it?
Well, it's very important, and as fast as anything changes now. But it was a big pill for me to swallow. I'll be the first to admit that. When that happened, I just we're sinking. The sky is falling, and you just start. Well, then we jump in. So what do you do? Well, you go on, and basically how I unloaded all my recorded music, because this went from, they were $15, $20 a piece to, well, who's going to buy a CD when I can get it for nothing? Although the quality was, but look how it's all changed in recorded music now. Everything's downloaded. You buy your tunes for $1 a piece, and it's, they've evolved. But it was, but yeah, I just learned. Well, we ended up putting all our product. Luckily, I had I've always had high school students work for me, in the early, up until these last few years. Now with Billy back, we don't. But and they came in and, hey, we're starting this new. Some of these guys in the mid '90s are coming in. We're learning how to design websites in high school. So they came in, and so I've had a website presence since 1996, and we just started honing that. And well, we started putting things and putting product on ever since then. So you just, okay, this is what we're gonna have, and you just have to learn to be flexible and shift. And small business, at the college, they were helpful in those early years too. Don Johnson was his name, and I was fortunate enough to get him his last year before he retires, coming in and helping me with bookkeeping, and it was huge. And he always said, you can sell anything. Just because you think you have a music store doesn't mean it always has to be that. He said, you always keep an open mind. And I always kept that in mind. And he would come back to, yeah, okay, it's time to, look around. What else can we do? So.
Great, thanks.
Joe, I have a.
Yeah.
Joe, on marketing, do you spend a lot of time on marketing? I mean, probably at the beginning you had a lot of marketing versus today. What's the difference? I mean, with, we have a lot of Amazons out there and whatever, but how do you personally market Kezar Music now?
Well, in the days back, in fact, I was just working with Billy now in this transition we're doing. We're going through a lot of old records, and I'm finding old newspaper clippings and everything that we used to do a lot more with that. And for me, we don't do any of that anymore. We just don't. And most people say, boy, if you don't advertise, that's just a nail in the coffin. But so we just use social media to our best and kind of do that. I've kind of actually turned that these last couple of years over to Billy with our website. He's slowly just kind of transforming that, and we've learned to really streamline it. You can remember when we all first started doing our websites, and you had this long musical intro and all that. People aren't interested in any of that. When I want to look up something, I want it right now. So you just get to the point. And we're going to start moving more on just doing more online tutorials. It's like, hey, here's how to put a string on a guitar. All these little things. We're going to just throw out these little 15-second things. So that's kind of moving forward. But back in the day before internet, when we did a lot of paper and radio and things like that. Well, now we're and just little things. I don't know if some of you saw, Billy and I and my nephew put out a little music clip, 30-second long little Christmas jingle. We do it every year. We just play a little video. This year we kind of did a little more editing with iMovie, which was fun. We just made a little Deck the Halls, I think we did. Just a little piano thing. And so if you haven't seen that, just go on Facebook and watch it. It's kind of it. But we got 2,000 hits in 5 days. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, keep it interesting.
Joe, I wanted to start by saying, complimenting you on your website. I think a lot of small businesses are in the dinosaur age when it comes to keeping their websites updated. And I just checked yours out when you were talking. It looked really good. The second thing I wanted to ask was, what's your favorite part about running your business? Because it sounds like you've been through a lot. What's your favorite part about it?
Oh, it's so diverse. There's something new all the time. Now this afternoon I got to go work on a PA system at the Ralph. They've got some glitches there, so I don't really have I do lessons now. That's another service that we've shifted into, doing lessons. Primarily, most of my students are in that 8 to 15, but I do some adults, and it's really fun. Like I mentioned in that little bio, over the years I remember you when you were in going up through music, and of course your dad was we were in band together, but that's been really fun too. It's been really rewarding to see some of these young players come along and evolve. And of course, over the years, going back into the 90s, some of those musicians now have become, one stopped in over the holidays, which really meant a lot to me, just to stop and say hi. Hadn't seen him in a long time. He's a professional musician plays in the Orlando Symphony. So pretty cool gig. So some of the boys, the Tweetbach boys, Daryl Tweetbach's boys down there in the cities doing some awesome stuff. Eric Bjornstead, a lot of them gone on, and not so much as musicians, but doing a lot of cool tech stuff. Fox Sports doing, yeah. So
That's cool.
Studio work. Yeah, it's very fun. So that's fun, just to see young people go out and, you know, kind of reminds you how old you're getting, but it's fun.
I'm going to claim the last question here for Joe. If you were going to advise a young entrepreneur, somebody looking at starting a business, what would be the most important thing that you would want them to know about starting a business?
Well, I don't think that's ever changed, and it maybe ever, especially on a small shop, but you be prepared to put in some hours. That's probably not what anybody wants to hear. But if you're really passionate about what you do, and you're going to be forced to hold yourself to the line when you promise something to be done, you stay there till it's done. That's just the way it is. And yeah, it's just, you're going to have to put in some time. Anybody, you could go, I don't care. When I was sick with COVID most of November, and I lay in bed, so I'm watching all these YouTube little clips on mostly musicians, and that became successful. And I just like the stories. And there isn't one that says how hard and how much, how much work, even to be up, you got to practice. If these musicians you watch play, 10,000 hours of muscle memory to master an instrument. That's about 7 years of practicing 2 hours a day, if my 4 out of 3 math is any good. So it's just put in some time. And if you like it, you've heard, everybody hears that, if you like what you do, if you look forward to getting up in the morning and going to work, it doesn't matter. The hours don't matter, I don't think. So.
Hey, that's great. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Joe. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having me.